Excited for this. A deep dive with unprecedented access inside the ropes of the season's biggest events is coming to Netflix in the form of a documentary series. Think Drive to Survive. With F1 last week, the PGA Tour formally introduced the series, which is currently in the process of filming. Some names that'll be included: Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa, a young player, D, that you may have heard of, Max Homa, also going to be included.
Is that with an H?
Yes.
Homa?
Yeah. Cal Berkeley, Max Homa.
He is. Can't believe I'm going to be on Netflix. LOL, one of the great follows on social media. For more, we welcome in Chad Mumm, Vox Media Studios, head of entertainment. Chad, thank you for the time. A lot of us familiar with Netflix, maybe have a favorite show. How does something like this golf docuseries go from concept to reality?
This one's been a long time coming, guys. We started talking about this idea 3 years ago, almost to the day. I remember meeting with the PGA Tour team at CES out in Vegas. We played a round of golf. We talked about this idea on the first tee, that now is maybe the time to do this kind of authentic storytelling out on the PGA Tour. And like most things, by the end of the round, we had hashed out a game plan, and that moment led to where we are now, announcing this series on Netflix, coming, starting production now. We're out there with the guys, and we're really excited to get it going.
Yeah, Chad, I was listening to you on the Shotgun Start podcast. You mentioned Augusta National was the first major organization to say yes. So as a golf nut, a golf nerd, if you will, how long did you stare at that email?
I mean, I think the most surreal thing to me was getting on a Zoom call with Augusta National. And you see, it's like, there's been a lot of cool moments in this show, but hopping on a Zoom, like from my house, and seeing a person's name / Augusta National, that was pretty special.
So how many?
They paved the way. So
yeah, how many players did you approach to participate in this initially? What was kind of your dream number?
I think we obviously, once we got the tour on board, and they have been totally on board from the very beginning. I give them a ton of credit. They really understand, for this to be what it needs to be, it has to be authentic, it has to be real, and unfiltered. And so the tour really understood that, at the highest level from the first, minute we started talking about it. But then once that was done, we had to get the players on board. So we started having conversations. Ricky Fowler, who you were just talking about on the show, was the first player to say yes. And then followed shortly by Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, Cameron Champ. And then we had kind of our core group. And then we just started making the rounds, and I started going out and meeting with people, meeting with agents, and just getting people comfortable with this idea. A lot of the guys are fans of Drive to Survive. They've seen the show. Once Netflix came on board, and once we brought our partners Box to Box on board, James K. Reese and Paul Martin's company, who make Drive to Survive, we just started picking up momentum. And I think golf is obviously a different sport than Formula One. There's a much bigger field. There's a much bigger group of players. I think the kinds of stories you can tell in golf are vast, from superstars. We have 5 of the top 7 players in the world to, the number 1 amateur player in the world. And so, I don't think we ever had like an ideal number. I think it was more like we wanted to have the right players to be able to tell sort of the full breadth of stories that you can tell in professional golf.
Well, you do have an incredible cast, but not everyone is going to say yes. Bryce DeChambeau has been a captivating figure, as you know, got some soap opera energy, big highs, big lows. What was that conversation with him, if any?
I mean, there'll always be a seat at the table at this show for Bryson anytime he wants to come aboard.
I like that. Now that is a professional answer. Chet, do the players understand the level of celebrity that's going to come with something like this? Because you have golf fans, and then you have people that watch Netflix, and no offense to golf, but that number is a lot wider. Do they understand what's going to come when people tune in?
I hope so. I mean, I think they've seen what happened with the drivers on Drive to Survive, and some of those players have relationships with some of those drivers. So I know some phone calls were made to some of the drivers and some of the team leads in Formula One, and just to kind of ask what it was like and what it did for them. And obviously they liked what they heard, because they all turned around and jumped in on this thing. I think they get it. I mean, I think our opportunity here, we really want to show golf, for really what it is. I mean, I want the players to watch this when it's over and say, like, you got it right. Like, that's what it's really like, for the first time. That was it. You guys nailed it. And on the other end, it's like, this show isn't necessarily just for golf fans. We want to make it for, people who love great stories. And I think Drive to Survive has been really successful at expanding that audience. I mean, the goal is to make an amazingly compelling show that feels great, that feels authentic, that feels true. And we think that can be an audience that, goes even far beyond what, the folks that tune into, a Thursday round or just maybe watch the Masters or the majors. So we think it's a great opportunity. And we really want to, from the first frame, really want to subvert people's expectations about when they think pro golf, especially for that non-golf audience. We really want to subvert those expectations, early in the show them something they weren't expecting.
I love that quote. You said the same thing on the shotgun start. So what do you mean you want to subvert the idea of pro golf in the first 5 minutes of the show is what you said. What does that mean? Is it going to be explosions? Is it going to be fights? I mean, what did you mean by that?
I just think there's a perception of golf out there in the wider sports world, of what, maybe they're thinking about golf 20 years ago, baggy shirts and guys that were playing on the tour. And again, I grew up watching those guys and that's what got me into golf. But, these players, they're cool. They're actually cool. They're cool people. They have interesting lives. They all have a very interesting perspective on what they do for a living. I heard recently it's a way to make it easy living playing pro golf, and I think that this show can really get into that, and it's it'll be on the course, inside the ropes, but also off the course, and how they live their lives. And I was shocked just in our first conversations with players. I mean, really how different they all look at it. I mean, they all have their own point of view on how they approach the game, how they and golf is sort of the ultimate meritocracy in sports. You pay your own way. There's no guaranteed contracts. You miss the cut, you're slamming that trunk, and but you still paid for your travel, your team's travel. It's a really different universe. And we often say, sports is the ultimate meritocracy, sports is the ultimate kind of microcosm of life. Sometimes life isn't a team sport. So we think that's going to be really interesting to see.
Chad, I was totally one of those people that watched Drive to Survive. My wife and I watched it, and then we started to watch F1 racing. So how do you get people to watch this series and fall in love with professional golf as well? Because you can watch this show, but how do you get people to tune into Riviera on a Sunday?
I mean, I think, our goal is just to get people to watch the show and really fall in love with the characters. Because, at the end of the day, the show will be successful if we can really show these, players and these athletes as who they are. And they all have amazing and really different personalities and really different approaches to the game and to their lives. And, it's ultimately it's a character story. And we want to bring some of that character to pro golf. And, sometimes you can't really tell when you're watching guys hit shots on TV, who they are and what they struggle with and what their goals are and that deep stuff. There's fun, there's drama, all of it. And I also think pro golf kind of lends itself. There's so many small things in golf that become such big stories, and it could be, a spike mark or slow play or whatever. There's just these little details that I think people don't see and don't understand. And it just has huge impact, throughout the whole year. And as you know, golf's not even a game of inches. I mean, it's a game of fractions of an inch. And so, the frustration that comes with how to be that precise and that dialed in to deliver the biggest moments and what it takes to get to that place. I find that super compelling, and I think that, our audience will too.
Chad, just an idea. I think you should have an entire episode dedicated to the Max Homa guy you guys have on the show, and tie just a whole Max Homa episode if you're okay with that. Nobody else on it. Is that okay?
I think Max could easily carry an episode.
There you go. See, I know he could.
Chad, we're excited looking at golf from a different perspective. Cannot wait. Thank you so much for the time and best of luck.